That summer, by the river behind grandmother's house, I learned to listen before I spoke. I was 10, the oldest of 5 cousins who came each holiday with pockets full of wildflowers and questions bright as coins. The air hung heavy with heat and lilac, and the kitchen window glowed as if it kept a secret in its glass. Grandmother stood by the stove, apron tied high, a kettle singing, a loaf cooling on the sill, and she sent us to fetch water from the well and to rinse the pebbles from our treasures. We found a patch of sky at the edge of the yard where the river could almost touch the field. The water lay pale and patient, the bank a ribbon of yellow grass. The older cousins brought driftwood and a piece of torn grocery bag, and we laid out our small tools as if we were making a ship for the sea. If it can float a leaf, it can float a dream, grandmother said, and we believed her. We built a boat from the driftwood and patched the seam with the grocery bag, twisting the bag into a sail and tucking a shard of glass as a rudder, the sort of improvised thing the child thinks will keep the world afloat. We named it Hope and set it on the shallow bend near the lilac hedge. The river took the boat with a gentle tug, and it began its slow travels, a speck of moving colour on the current. We shouted and chased, our feet stumbling in the dust and grass. The boat rode the current, sometimes dipping, sometimes rising with a playful tilt, and for a time we forgot the heat and the rules and simply moved with the river's rhythm. I watched my younger cousins, their cheeks flushed with sun, their laughter ringing out as the boat turned in a lazy circle and drifted toward the bend where the reeds grew thick. A splash, a gasp, a chorus of joy, and then the boat disappeared into a calm pool and vanished. I did not join the chase right away. I stood for a long breath, listening to the river's patient voice and the sizzle of corn on the stove inside the house. The cicadas filled the air with bright sound. A distant bell of a fishing boat came from the far shore. The moment slowed, and in that stillness I learned what I have kept all these years. To love something, you must release it. To care for something is to offer it a path, and the world will determine its course if you grant it the chance. Evening came with the soft heat of a room that warms the bones differently when the day is done. Grandmother set platters on the wooden table, the cornmeal mush, honey, sliced peaches, and the bread she cut with a hush and a smile. We sat with damp sleeves, the window open to let in the sea's faint breath. She spoke of rivers as living beings, not cruel or kind, simply themselves, moving along with their own memory. Her voice steadied us, and the room filled with the smell of bread and rain on the stones outside, a scent that never forgot its own childhood. In the days that followed, I found myself slower to speak and quicker to listen. We did not always win the race against the river, but we learned to watch, to read the water's delicate language, to step back when it would be wiser to step forward. The lessons spread beyond the riverbank and into the way I learned to keep company with others. A soft touch on a shoulder, a patient silence that invites confession, a shared meal that makes even the hungriest heart feel seen. Now that I am old, the river remains a constant, though the world has changed around it. The memory of that summer is a gentle map I carry in my mind. A boat named Hope, a chorus of cousins, a grandmother who spoke softly enough to bend a stubborn heart toward mercy. In the kitchen, where the bread used to rise and the kettle sang, I hear the same rhythm, the same careful, unhurried cadence that kept me safe and curious as a child. The face of grandmother, worn with time and love, is etched in my memory as clearly as the lines on my palm. I have learned to understand that the simplest acts carry the heaviest weight. To listen first, to offer help without being asked, to let a thing go when it must, and to trust that care is not wasted but planted, and that sometimes the most powerful kindness is simply to be present. The river's memory is not merely water and stone. It is a way of living, a way of letting the heart expand to take in other people's joys and sorrows, a way of loving without clenching the hand. Time passes, yes, and the world moves on with new songs, new boats, and new summers that will someday become old memories themselves. But I have seen, in these long years, that meaning does not vanish with the river's current. It passes from hand to hand, from memory to memory, through small rituals and listening ears, through bread warm from the oven and a porch light left on for a friend who needs to find their way home. The lessons I learned that long ago summer remain a steadying current in the room of my life, the quiet power of a life lived gently, and a heart that still remembers how to wait, to hope, and to love. For in the end, it is not the grand deeds that endure, but the careful, ordinary acts of kindness that turn memory into meaning and time into blessing.